Good afternoon. I'm out walking in the woods today. I thought I'd do a day today, no books, no verses, just talking, just sharing. We covered yesterday the biggest obstacle to spiritual life, just being a noisy mind, watching our thoughts all the time and being addicted to our thoughts. We think that they are us, that they are what make us unique, that they are what identify us. And that's the problem, because the mind is ever changing. So how can it identify you? One time it's in a good mood, one time it's in a bad mood, one time it likes this, it wants that. It's always changing. There's no real lasting identity there. There's something behind it that has been constant. That's something that doesn't change. That I that has been in you, the I am is how Eckhart Tolle talks about it. The I am, if you go with the Christian scripture, and that self with a capital S in the Vedantic scriptures. But it's that part of us that never changes. It was the I you talked about when you were 5, and it's the I you talk about now. And certainly the mind of those two I's have nothing to do with each other, completely unrelated. And it's the same with the body. We've talked about all of that stuff before. All of these things are perfectly obvious, but they're not they're not our habit. We haven't absorbed them, which is really part, at least, of the practice of meditation, is letting these ideas trickle down into your being so that you can have that integrity inside, that what you think, what you say, and what you do are in alignment. That's truth. And that's why Ramakrishna says that that's fundamental to spiritual practice, fundamental for growing, for knowing. But how do we do that? Swami Arupeshananda sent me a nice email yesterday after I had kind of told him what we talked about yesterday. And he was like, well, that's all great. He says, sure, that's the biggest obstacle, but how do you overcome it? And there's several, that's what the 4 yogas are all about. The most popular ideas certainly are Jnana Yoga, but that's a lot of work. That's actually stilling the mind, which means really isolating yourself from worldly life and getting away from people, places, and things that are going to constantly pull you back into identifying with your thoughts and with your body. So it's not really practical in today's world. Ramakrishna talks about that. He says it's just not practical. Society's not put together to support that kind of practice in these times. And he says the fastest and most effective way to know God is through devotion, through love. And which is why I talk about it all the time. You see, you can still the mind with love. By falling in love with love, really, that's our practice as spiritual seekers. We're not falling in love with a particular, we're falling in love with love itself, which is God, which is our beloved. However you want to map that out. Usually we attach that ideal of love to a face, to a life, like a Ramakrishna or a Krishna or a Buddha or a Jesus. And that's usually what the path of bhakti yoga, the path of devotion, usually refers to. And so our meditations can be things like contemplating the life of these great souls who have been so clear that we actually get an idea of unconditioned love by watching their life. And to sit and think about them. Or just contemplating the nature of what would unconditional love look like. If I had a partner, if I was married to somebody that loved me unconditionally, what does it mean? And then you get to part B. That leads directly to the next thing. Why Ramakrishna says that faith is the root of all. Faith is the heart of all. Because you're not going to believe it. Unconditional love, what? If I'm a total turkey, this guy, this woman is going to love me? This ideal? There's no requirements in my behavior? Oh my gosh, I can do anything. That's the first thinking, and that's the childish thinking. Because if you go deeper than that, you understand if you really had a partner like that, if you really knew someone like that, taking advantage of them would be the last thing you would ever want to do. You would just, oh my God, you'd be head over heels in love. And I don't know, have you ever had that feeling? Usually that happens in your teenage years, when you go on your first date, or, you fixate on your first movie star. where it's everything to you. It's not like you have to sit and try and focus on that person. It's not like you have to sit and try and remember that person. They're your everything. I can remember, the big complaint when I was a kid was how long the teenagers would be on the phone talking to their girlfriend or their boyfriend. Hours would pass, hours would go by, and you hang up. No, you hang up. No, I'm not gonna. You hang up, and you would just keep going. That's the ideal we're talking about. Where you're in meditation and you've gotten that kind of relationship going with God, with that idea of love inside. And you're like, okay, I'll stop meditating. You go. No, you go. You go. No, no, you go. Because meditation in its purest form, in its best form for the bhakti anyway, is it's a date. It's a date with the beloved. It's time with God, where you're just sitting and enjoying that company, enjoying the thoughts of pure love, enjoying the presence and promise of pure love, enjoying thinking about what does it mean that the base of the universe, that the base of this created, seemingly created world is love. I mean, that's crazy. That's beautiful, is what that is. That's beautiful. And so it takes faith to believe that. Why? Because, boy, we have never met anything like it. We have nothing in our daily experience that is called unconditional love. And so when we're trying to build a relationship with a being, or with a relation with that, whatever your word for the beloved is, whatever your concept is, it's still perfect love, unconditioned, perfect love. And it's going to take faith for you to believe it. It's going to take faith for you to believe it. And it's going to have to be something that you really work on. Because when you make mistakes, which we do, and sometimes we make the same mistakes like 3 million times and counting, and to believe that there is a love that exists that is so unconditioned that that's forgivable, that really is not the obstacle to our relationship. The obstacle to our relationship is being able to trust that that love exists at that level. So letting go, complete surrender, because it's the ego again. We always talk about that dastardly thing, the ego that's always getting in there and trying to keep track of all of this stuff. How many times have I been nice to that person? How many times have they been nice to me? Oh, they gave me a gift that was expensive for Christmas. Now I have to get them an expensive gift too. That's because that's the love we're accustomed to. That's what we are thinking about. So it takes faith to know that there's something greater than that there's an ideal that's trustworthy beyond that. And it's in everything that we see and are. That's the most beautiful thing to me. That life is a conversation with God. Everything that happens to you in a day, every event that you're a part of, every person you meet, that really, if you are in that state of constant awareness of the divine, that your life becomes a dance, guided and moved by the beloved himself or herself. That is possible to see that in life. And seeing it that way is to see it as it is. It gives you an unchanging platform from which to judge the world. Not a platform based on moods, not a platform based on hungers, no circumstance affects it at all. It's a stability and a strength that can lead you through the best and the worst, just like the wedding vows say, in richness and in, whether for rich or poor, good health or bad health, whatever it is, better or worse, until death do us part. And the great thing about that, of course, is that death, first of all, there's none such thing. That's why you don't know what it is. You can't imagine it. You can't imagine your birth or your death. Why? Because you're immortal. You've never experienced either, nor will you ever. So today, turn your life into that conversation. Fall in love. Do whatever it takes. If God, I'm going to use that word, is your lover, is your friend, is your father, is your mother, what would you do to express that love? How would you act in order to express that love? How would you feel about spending time with that kind of love? Would you begrudgingly meditate your 15 minutes, constantly wanting to go do something else? And even if you do, that's all right. For now, do that 15 minutes. Eventually, that's the amazing thing about spiritual life. It's not based on accomplishment. There's nothing to accomplish. These are things that are. This present moment is all you need. It has all of the tools, all of the opportunities for you to realize your beloved, for you to realize your nature. So take advantage of that. Put your faith in that. Let's do this. Somebody do the work. Somebody take the chance. Somebody fall in love with love.